Boris Johnson, like his hero Winston Churchill, is said to harbour a fondness for big ships. And from the Prime Minister this afternoon, a sweeping vision of both soft and hard global power.
The review describes how we will bolster our alliances, strengthen our capabilities, find new ways of reaching solutions and relearn the art of competing against states with opposing values.
The UK is tilting towards the Pacific, with HMS Queen Elizabeth heading there this year on a 20,000-mile round trip. Australia and South Korea have been invited to the G7 summit in June, along with India, which Mr Johnson will visit next month. Though remember how Barack Obama's tilt to Asia was derailed by the Arab Spring. Still, the report describes Xi Jinping's China as the biggest state-based threat to economic security, yet a partner on even deeper trade as well as climate change. An apparent contradiction we're told we must live with.
Those who call for a new Cold War on China, or for us to sequester our economy entirely from China, which seems to be the new policy of the opposition, weaving as they generally do from one position to the next, are I think mistaken. We have a balance to strike.
There's a potential 40% increase in the UK's nuclear arsenal to a new cap of 260 warheads. Controversial and not fully explained today, though the UK's UN Security Council seat arguably depends on it.
They're so far behind the US, the Russians, and even China in some capacities that they need to obviously increase to a degree to feel like that they still deserve a seat at the table. So, you know, the numbers pale in comparison to those countries, but they're still quite significant, obviously, for the UK.
Moscow is described as the most active direct threat, almost 3 years since these Russian agents launched a chemical attack in Salisbury. A new operations centre will focus on hostile states and terrorists, with offensive cyber operations run from the northwest. Who's paying for all this when £24 billion announced for defence last year is, we now know, accompanied by a £17 billion black hole? A white paper next week could spell the loss of another 10,000 personnel.
The British Army is already 6,000 below the minimal level set out in the last review. It's been cut every year for the last decade. And it's being reported, Mr Speaker, that the Army will see a further reduction of 10,000, alongside fewer tanks, fewer jets for the RAF and fewer frigates for the Royal Navy.
They are deterring state-based adversaries that the government has just identified, like Russia, and they are demonstrating to countries around the world, friend and foe alike, that we are serious, we stand by what we say, and we will defend our friends and partners. The numbers matter, the troops matter, and I look forward to the government reinforcing that point next week.
Though it was anger over a manifesto-breaking aid cut, including possible further cuts to Syria, which threatened to spoil the Prime Minister's day.
Will the Prime Minister promise this House today that this unlawful development cut will be for 1 year? And if it might be for longer, then why doesn't he just come and seek a vote on it?
We will, of course, return to the point 7 when fiscal circumstances allow, but I think in the meantime, most people in this country will be amazed, proud and pleased that in spite of the difficulties we face, we're spending £10 billion on the poorest and neediest around the world.
This report is a roadmap for the UK's global future, and it's good to have one after the preoccupations and diversions of the Brexit years. Perhaps the biggest question now, though, is whether the UK's finances can match the extent of its ambition. Jonathan Rugman, Channel 4 News, Central London.